I hit Masters today, everybody. That's right, we can call the fight. This is probably the first time in the history of this channel, and maybe my life, that I have set a goal and actually hit it. Maybe not on the character that I expected to get there on, but that's a story for another time. Today, I just want to tell you everything that I learned, the subtleties of my road to Masters. A little disclaimer, I just want you to know that this video is not for like super beginners. Like if you just bought the game and you clicked on this video, it's going to seem a little bit confusing to you, right? If you don't know how to do a special move, or you don't know how to anti-air and stuff like that, there's a ton of content for that on YouTube. This video is more for like the intermediate players, or the players who are trying to get to intermediate, or just trying to get somewhere, right? You have some idea of the fundamentals, you know how to play the game a little bit, but you're trying to get a little bit further. That's who this is for. Moving on though, this video is going to be split into two sections. The first section is going to be what I learned about the game. The second section is going to be what I learned about myself, which I think is very useful to some people and worth talking about. But I'll split it up so it's very clear when we're switching gears, and if you don't, want to hear me talk about myself, then you can leave at that point. So let's get started with the game. First thing we need to talk about is button into drive rush. I think if you are unsure if there's a gap for you to like press a jab, you should just respect it, right? If you're unsure, respect it, just block it and take the throw and let them burn themselves out. A great example of this is a lot of Luke players I was running into would do crouch medium kick into drive rush, and they don't like hit confirm it or anything. They're just going into it and blowing the full meter, and then I will take like a throw at max. But most Luke players, I won't even say Luke players, most players in general aren't satisfied with spending that bar and only getting a throw, so they will spend an additional bar and then they burn themselves out within like, I mean, there have been multiple games where by 90 seconds the other player is burned out from just doing that. It's fine to take the throw. Command grab is a little bit different. I know it's scary, like if Manon does button drive rush delay into command grab, that's a little bit more scary, but against most characters it's okay to just take a couple throws and then let them burn themselves out. And at that point, I'm putting them in the Cami Infinite. If I have a big life lead, especially, I'm putting them in that Infinite. I'm getting corner carry, I'm getting chip, and I'm probably going to force them to super. So, you get a lot of benefits for taking, what, 2 throws? And speaking of drive rush, before we move on, Ken, Luke, Cami, and any other character with a good crouch medium kick, Chun too, they are always fishing for it into drive rush because it gives you a huge reward, so you have to keep an eye out for it. Ryu players too, they love their crouch medium kick, but you have to keep an eye out for it and space yourself around it to whip punish, or you can try and stuff it, or you can use like a character specific option. Like Cammy can dive kick over a lot of crouch medium kicks. I know in this game they tried to take away the one touch confirms, because in 5 you get hit with Karin's crouch medium kick, Tenko, you do like 300 damage. But in this game, you get hit with crouch medium kick drive rush into like 60%. And if they mess up the confirm, they're safe. So it's like, I don't really know how I feel about that, because it kind of leads to the same effect for some people, where their entire game plan is based around hitting crouch medium kick buffered into drive rush and then doing this one huge combo, and they have a huge life lead now. But that's just something to look out for. Let's talk a little bit about the corner now, because it is scary. Pressure in the corner is overwhelming, and you have to know all of your options. DP, jab, jump, parry, DI, these are all great options, but remember, there is no shame in blocking and looking for the gap where your opponent is trying to reset pressure. You might lose a lot of drive meter, so you can look to parry. You can look to drive reversal. If you're going to burn out and die anyways, you might as well reverse them off of you. So you can look for things like that. Just remember, in the corner, if you're panicking, it's better to panic and block than panic and mash, because the damage in this game is decently high, for one, and 2, you can get Oki off of things that sometimes you normally can't because of drive rush, right? So if you, I don't know, you mash something, you get hit with a huge drive rush combo into level 3 or some crazy shit, you take 60%, you will probably wake up in the corner, and then your opponent will drive rush back in, right? And then we're in the same situation. You have to be a lot more active on defense in this game and find the gaps and use your system mechanics if you can to try and get out. It's really tough. But if you do happen to make it out of the corner and you're like burned out or something, and you get a hit that can convert into your level 3, remember that your drive gauge will refill during your level 3 animation, and theirs will obviously deplete as they're getting hit. That's even more important when you're both in burnout, because if you level 3, then your gauge is almost like completely filled up by the end of the animation, and theirs is frozen. So it puts them in like a really bad position. Last thing we're going to talk about in the gameplay section of this video are matchups. There are certain matchups where you're going to have to work harder than your opponent. It's just how it is. Think Honda and Blanco, for example. They really put the pressure on the defender to know how to beat them. And it feels very unfair, but it's just how it is. And the faster you accept that about those kind of matchups and other things in this game that feel unfair, the faster you'll improve. I think it's okay to like talk shit about those characters and hate those characters and the way that they play, but it's one thing to do that with your friends, like in Discord or like I don't know, Facebook Messenger or Twitter, wherever you know you talk and interface with the community. And it's another thing to bring that into your own games, and like it becomes an obstacle at that point. It's fine to like, you know, lose to DJ throwing 2 fucking fireballs then teleporting right next to you, and you know, you hop on Twitter, you hop on Facebook, whatever, and you just talk shit for a couple minutes, and then you go into the lab and you figure it out, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to carry this into the next game, but I blew off some steam, and that felt good. It always feels good to blow off a little bit of steam. It's just when you get, sometimes you get over-validated, right? Like you'll go into a character Discord, and you guys are all chopping it up because you all play the same character, and you're like, damn, I really hate, you know, Jury's Drive Rush. I really hate Jury's Drive Rush. I can't check it. I'll never be able to check it. And then it turns into like, damn, yeah, that shit is impossible to check. And then you start to believe that. Like you came to whatever interface you went to, whatever medium you went to blow off some steam, and then that steam like got validated, and now you and now you feel like it's fact. That's just how it goes for me sometimes, so I might be projecting a little bit. But I think the faster you accept that every problem has an answer in this game, and whether that answer is super easy to do, and whether it's fair or whether it's unfair, or whether it's hard to do, or it's like a perfect parry 3-frame input, whatever it is, there has to be some answer. And I know as soon as I said that, you automatically thought of a move that you feel like you can't beat. Like you thought of a move that your character has a very hard time dealing with. But there's a big difference between having a hard time beating an option and the game being like hard-coded for you not to punish it, right? like Blanca will do Blanca Ball, and Cammy cannot spiral arrow punish, right? That is not something that you can do within the realm of the game. But you can try and perfect parry it. It's hard, but that is your answer. I know that was a lot of rambling, but you know, hopefully it helped somebody. All right, now we're getting into the second half, and I want to talk about myself a little bit, because you guys know, like, we talk about ranked anxiety a lot and how it seems silly on the surface, but I think it goes much deeper, and it oftentimes stops people from just playing the game like they want to. And it's a problem that I find myself grappling with a lot, or I found myself grappling with a lot, because over these 1,000 ranked games that it took to get to Masters, I feel like I changed a lot, and very much for the better. And I found myself writing in the little journal a lot more. If this is your first time here, you don't know about the little journal. It's just something where I write my thoughts, and I kind of bring it up in videos sometimes. But I wrote this multiple times, but I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of feeling anxious, so I'll discard that feeling. It doesn't do me any good, and I'll fill that void with happiness. But I cross out happiness. I went back and I crossed it out. In every instance where I wrote the word happy or happiness, I crossed it out, and instead I wrote peace. I think for me, it's too big of a jump to say that I won't feel angry and I won't feel anxious anymore, and I will instead just be happy. I don't think you can just tell yourself that you're happy now. Like, it doesn't work like that. I think for happiness to be present, there must first be peace, right? And how I got there was just accepting things as what they were. Like kind of how I was talking about the matchups earlier, where you have to accept that you will work harder than your opponent sometimes. Just accepting what is happening took me so far. Like, you accept where you are, how you're playing, how your opponent's playing, and there's no longer like this need to hope that you're going to win, because you realize that where you're at right now, the position that you're in right now, is probably okay. Like, it's still possible that you can win or you can lose, but in the overall scheme of things, you are okay. I guess the best way I can describe the feeling is like neutral. Like, you just feel neutral, right? You don't you don't get angry because things are happening. You don't get happy because things are happening. You just kind of exist and accept things for what they are, and it's like very freeing. To me, it's like very freeing. But I think that's the best thing that I learned. I think that's the most important thing that I took away from this whole thing. So I'll leave you to think on that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and I'll talk to you again very soon.